The Sony Xperia 1 Mark III may very well be the world's first smartphone to house a 4K 120Hz display, but that display drained down its battery a lot faster than the best devices from Samsung and Apple in my recent battery drain test. That being said, 6 hours and 21 minutes is still pretty decent battery life, provided it charges faster than the Xperia 1 Mark II did, which took a whopping 1 hour and 54 minutes to charge, from 0 to 100%. Well, in theory, it should charge faster than its predecessor, thanks to an increased charging limit of 30 watts as opposed to 18 watts last year, but the battery has been bumped up from 4000 to 4500 milliamp hours. The Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra has a slightly smaller wattage capability of the Sony at just 25 watts, but a bigger battery of 5000 milliamps, while the iPhone 12 Pro Max has the smallest battery of the lot at 3687 milliamp hours and the smallest wattage block of just 20 watts. Can the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III claim a victory today over the S21 Ultra and iPhone 12 Pro Max with its increased charging wattage? This is TechNick, and without further ado, let's find out. Before we get started, it's worth checking the temperature of all devices sitting at room temperature without currently being plugged in charge. This will change as each interval passes. Plugging them all into charge, tapping the start button on the timer phone all the way on the right hand side, and checking the time interval at the top right hand corner, which has now changed to 5 minutes since we've hit that interval timer. We have 6% on the Xperia, 8% on the S21 Ultra, and 7% on the iPhone. The time interval is in relation to the percentage above each phone and below the branding of each device, and I have made sure to disable all forms of battery optimizations or battery care, that is, only really on the Sony and on the iPhone, while the Samsung I have made sure to enable fast charging. After 10 minutes we have 14% on the Xperia, which is trailing the S21 Ultra's 15% and matching the iPhone's 14%. So far the coolest phone in terms of interval and peak has been the iPhone, and the hottest has been the Xperia. After 15 minutes we have 23% on the Xperia, which is once again matching the iPhone's 23%, but the S21 Ultra is still leading the pack here with 26%, though not that much quicker than the other devices. It does have a much larger battery and not necessarily the fastest wattage block of the lot here. That is indeed the Xperia with 30 watts, the Samsung has 25 watts, and the iPhone has just 20 watts, though the iPhone has the smallest battery. After 25 minutes we have 40% on the Xperia, matching the iPhone once again at 40%, 44% on the S21 Ultra, still leading the pack over here. Which one can pass the 50% mark first? It is indeed the S21 Ultra. After 30 minutes we have 51% on the Samsung, 48% on the Sony, which is now 1% ahead of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, sitting at 47%, with the iPhone still being the coolest in terms of interval and peak, and the Sony still being the hottest in terms of interval and peak, and the peak is sitting at over 50 degrees on the Sony, which is not necessarily a good thing. After 45 minutes, we have 68% on the Sony, which is now 2% behind the iPhone, very strange here at 70%, and 73% still leading the pack. No surprise, the S21 Ultra nearing that 1 hour mark time interval. Hitting that one now, which one is going to be the most ahead? It is indeed the Samsung, no doubt there, but then the iPhone is still ahead of the Sony, this time by 3% ahead, 81% as opposed to the 78% on the Sony, but now the Sony was the coolest at the interval, and the iPhone still has the coolest peak, but the Samsung got the hottest in that last interval of 1 hour. But needless to say, the Samsung actually hits the 100% mark interval in first place over here in just 1 hour and 14 minutes. It says 1 hour and 15 minutes over here, but at the bottom of the screen, it trickled to 100% on 1 hour and 14 minutes. Still pretty impressive over there, though I have gotten it a bit quicker, less than an hour and 10 minutes. Nevertheless, an hour and 60 minutes has passed 87% on the Xperia 1 Mark III, as opposed to 91% on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is now 4% ahead of the Xperia. Which one is going to boost faster over here in the last remaining minutes, and are they both going to force cool down their devices, causing charging to slow down like iPhone always do? We're going to expect that from the iPhone. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with the Sony, but I can assure you that battery health on the Sony and iPhone respectively have been disabled, so they should be charging at their maximum wattage right now, but they are both getting a hell of a lot cooler at 32.6 degrees in Celsius in the last interval on the Sony and 32 degrees in Celsius in the last interval on the iPhone, so they're both cooling down a hell of a lot. The Sony has now pulled ahead here, well, not ahead of the iPhone, but narrowing the gap now, 99% a piece over here, still 99% after an hour and 48 minutes. Hour and 49 minutes, the Sony actually beat the iPhone, which is impressive, but not so much, since the Sony has Well, it does have a bigger battery, but it does have faster charging, and iPhones are known for extremely slow charging, and it only finished a minute slower than the Sony, the iPhone clocking out at an hour and 50 minutes as opposed to the hour and 49 minutes on the Sony. But remember, the Sony does have a bigger battery than the iPhone, though it should kind of compensate with the faster 30-watt charging capabilities. Third place over here, the iPhone 12 Pro Max with 1 hour and 50 minutes. It does have a very tiny battery, so it should definitely charge faster in this, though it took a hell of a long time to end off over there with a 20-watt block. Second place, the Xperia 1 Mark III, just a minute faster charging than the iPhone, but it does have a much larger battery, an hour and 49 minutes, not too shabby with 30-watt charging. First place here, the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, still not exactly extremely fast charging, but an hour and 40 minutes is still pretty decent with that 5,000 milliamp hour battery and 25-watt charging. Now, if we take a look at the last 5% of all devices over here, the Samsung did it in just 8 minutes, getting a milliamp hour per minute reading of the last 5% at 31.3 milliamps, and the Sony did it in 18 minutes, the last 5%, that is, getting a reading of 12.5 milliamp hours per minute, and the iPhone took 26 minutes to the last 5%, getting 7.1 milliamp hour per minute reading, meaning the iPhone takes the longest to charge, the last 5 to 10%. Though the Sony and iPhone were pretty much on par in terms of time, 1 hour 49 minutes and 1 hour 50 minutes respectively, the Sony did have a much better milliamp hour per minute reading of over 41 milliamp hours per minute as opposed to just over 33 milliamp hours per minute on the iPhone. Since the Sony has a much bigger battery than the iPhone, it does have faster charging as well, so you would expect the milliamp hour per minute reading to be better on the Sony. What is strange here though is that the Sony doesn't have a better milliamp hour per minute reading as opposed to the Samsung, which has slower charging at 25 watts and a bigger battery at 5,000 milliamp hours, and it got a reading of 67.57 milliamp hours per minute. So if you have to charge them from 0 to 100%, definitely go for the Samsung, considering it has a larger battery so it will last longer throughout the day and charge faster at night. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I did making it. This is TechNick, and I'll catch you in the next one.